Okay, so now that we know, what the manager's job is to do at work, a lot of their job is really kind of putting out fires, is managing conflict, managing the issues that arise between employers or employees. And the book talks about how do you manage workplace conflict. And they talk about what good conflict is and what bad conflict is. Now, when we're talking about conflict in the workplace, you can also think of conflict in your regular everyday situations, be it your friendships, your family relationships, maybe your relationships with your significant others. But when we talk about conflict, there's always an expressed struggle. That means if you're feeling, upset about something, it's not conflict until you let that other person know that you're upset. Otherwise, you're just upsetting yourself, and nobody knows about it. So you actually have to express it to somebody else that you're having problems. So that is the first key ingredient to having a conflict. The next one is interdependence. So you're having an expressed struggle with somebody that you're interdependent with. And what we mean by interdependent is you rely on that person for something. Be it, to have them do their part of the job in order for you to do your part of the job. And usually when we're talking about interdependences, they're the only ones that can fulfill that need for you. Okay? There's nobody else that can do that, fulfill that need. Otherwise, you would have gone to somebody else for that. So you're having a problem with somebody, but you need them to solve the problem with you. So that's that interdependence part. The third part of it is that there's perceived incompatible goals. That means you have an issue, and probably they have an issue. And you think they're wrong, and they think you're wrong. So you have to figure out, okay, well, what is it that we're miscommunicating on? Where are our goals about what we need to do, and then how can we overcome them? So the perception of the incompatible goals. They may not actually be incompatible. You might be aiming for the same thing, but the way that you go about it may be different. So that's where we talk about the perception is the important part of it. Because, again, our perception is based on our own ideas and assumptions, and that might not be the case for somebody else. And then we talk about the perceived scarce rewards and resources. There's always going to be something that there's not enough of. And that's probably why you're having that conflict with somebody. Maybe there's not enough time to do a particular thing. There's not enough money to do a particular thing. There's not enough, caring to do a particular thing. Trust. So there's something in the relationship that's lacking, and therefore that is creating a conflict in your relationship, be it workplace or any other. So you've got to have all of those things, and that's what makes a conflict a conflict. Now, there's a process to go through on how to resolve the conflict, which identifies each of those areas. Okay, so if you go through those, you'll hopefully be able to resolve that conflict in a mutual way that benefits the both of you. Now, we all deal with conflict in different ways, and we're going to talk about how we do that. Depending on your conflict style is how you're going to approach that conflict. Remember when we talked about self-awareness, and we said whether you're expressive, amiable, a driver, or analytical? Well, just like you have a certain social style, you also have a certain conflict style that will pretty much relate to your social style that you're in. And again, when we talk about social styles, it ranges on a continuum from caring about others to caring about yourself. Because if you care about yourself more than you care about others, you're going to have conflict. You're going to use conflict in a certain way to get your way, if you care more about yourself than others. And if you care more about others, you're willing to concede the points that the other people have. So these are the different conflict styles. You have, and let's start with here, the avoider. They manage conflict by avoiding it. So what do you think? Do you think they'd be high or low on concern for themselves? High?
Low. Low, because they let the other person win.
Okay, and think about it. When you avoid certain situations, right, do you care enough about yourself, or do you care enough about that other person to even deal with the situation? Probably not, because you're avoiding it altogether, right? So more than likely, an avoider is going to be a low concern for the self and a low concern for others. You don't care what happens. You don't care how it happened. You just avoid the situation altogether. And we all have different reasons for avoiding. And there are certain situations where sometimes avoiding is the best way to deal with that conflict, because it might not help, even if you try to, deal with it. So we have this avoiding style. Okay, let's go over here where they accommodate. They manage conflict by giving in. Okay, so we're thinking high concern for self or high concern for others, or low concern for self and low concern for others. Where do you think that falls? Accommodator. If you manage conflict by giving in, a high or low concern for yourself? Low, right? Because you're giving in. And what about your concern for others? Is it high or low? High, because you care about them so much you're willing to concede the point, right? So that's an accommodator. Now, what kind of social style do you think accommodators tend to fit into? Amiable, right? Amiable. What about the avoiders? Possibly the analytical. But it might also be drivers depending on the situation. What about, let's go up here to the competitor. They manage conflict by being pushy. So, high or low concern for self? High. High or low concern for others? Low. Because you know what? It's about me getting what I want. It's a competition. So, I'm going to do anything and everything to win. Think of the Olympics. High concern for self more so than the others. I need to get what I need to do to win the race. And then we go across to collaboration. They manage conflict. Oh, by the way, who are the competitors, do you think? Social style. Drivers, right? Drivers are pretty much going to be that conflict style. Collaborators manage conflict by working with others. Okay, high or low concern for self? High. High or low concern for others? High. They care a lot about themselves to where they're going to stand up for their opinions. But they also care enough about the other person that they're going to want to work with them to try to find a solution that's going to be beneficial to both. What social style do you think works best in the collaborators? Expressives, right? Expressives. And then let's go to the middle, the compromisers. They manage conflict by giving up something in exchange for another person doing the same. So it's both people willing to give a little so that they can both get what they want. And that's different from the collaborators, because collaborators find a solution where everybody gets what they want. And a lot of times that's really hard to do. So more people are willing to go to the compromise. Are compromisers high or low concern for self and others? I think they're both, right? They're high concern for self and high concern for others, but not as high as the other two, because they're willing to concede their points a little bit, right? So it's kind of in the middle between high and low. Now, when we talk about these, how do they handle the situation, and to what point are they going to be assertive or aggressive in their communication to get their conflict resolved? That's what we're going to talk about next. So does everybody understand this continuum, right? So we've got, at this very corner here, it's low, low, right? Low concern for self, low concern for others. So that's why you have, and that's up to high. So high concern for self, high concern for others, high concern for others, low concern for self, high concern for self, low concern for others. And then this is the medium range for both. Okay?